The beauty of sacred technology.
Right?
Okay. Hi, everybody in my Mothers in Alignment group. Hello, everyone on my YouTube channel where this interview will go after Natural Sanity Mama. I am here today. I'm super excited to have this conversation with Eileen Joy. We're talking all about money because Eileen is a money mindset coach for moms. So I'm super, super excited for this conversation because I find a lot of people have a hard time talking about money. It's like kind of a taboo subject sometimes. I feel like our generation, like my generation's a little bit better with that. There's progress being made, but still, it's like one of those things that people don't want to look at. They are afraid of looking at what their money's doing, how their money situation's going. And so I'm so excited about this conversation. What I'm also excited about, and the reason why I first reached out to Eileen, is because she said in a post or something that she really likes, that her son is so well educated around money and that she speaks to him about it and he's able to like make financial decisions to the extent that he can at his age. And I was like, that is so awesome and so needed. And like, why aren't we taught this in school? And why don't we have a financial education that makes sense? Why don't I know where to invest my money, how to invest money, like what to do with it? Like, it's just so sad. And it's one of my missions as well for myself to become highly educated in this realm, and also both with my money mindset, but also with like what to do with it when you have it and when you don't have it and how to pay it off and all that. And yeah, just the responsibility around it and just being honest with where you're at. And so I feel like everyone in this group and everyone that's seeing this is going to benefit so much from this conversation. So I'm going to launch off with Eileen. Let us know about you. Where are you at right now? Like, where are you living? And how did you get to do the work that you do now? I'm so excited.
I can tell you're like bursting.
Yes.
I know. We've been waiting a little while to have this conversation.
Totally.
I love talking about money. Love, love, love. I can talk about it for hours. So I'm Eileen Joy, money coach for moms. And I never in a million years ever thought that I would ever become a money coach, ever. So it all started, right? It all started because of my divorce. So during my divorce, I ran out of money. And my attorney didn't really help me, didn't do anything. And their accounting department started to harass me for money. Ooh. And then they basically seized everything that I had. And I had to sell my house to pay for my divorce. So when the sale of my home went through, they took the money and held on to it and wouldn't let me have it. And
wow.
At the end of the day, at the end of my divorce, I got an envelope in the mail from the attorney's office for a check for $347. And that was all I had left in the world. And during my divorce, I had to get a new job because I was working with my sister-in-law at the time. And my sister-in-law was making my life miserable in the office. And I had a great job. And I didn't want to leave, but the atmosphere was just so unbearable. I said, this is ridiculous. I need to get out of here. So I found another great job. I went on a million interviews and I just negotiated my way through all these offers that I received, and I picked the best one, and I actually got a better job. And it was better pay, better benefits, better work-life balance. Family comes first. I'm able to work from home. Don't have to worry about my son, picking him up from the bus and all these things. And I said, this is perfect, right? So I picked that one. And then at the same time during my divorce, my son and I were in a really bad car accident. We both ended up in the hospital and my car was totaled. Like, this sounds like a country music song. It's crazy, right? So all of this was going on during my divorce. And then this was all at the tail end of a bankruptcy. And I was basically left with nothing. I had $347 and I had to get a new house, a new job, and a new car and really just start over. And when I finally got divorced, my son was 5 and now he's 10. And after I picked myself up off the floor from crying, after I looked at that check, I was kind of stuck for a little while, just, not knowing what to do, where am I going, what's next, all these things. And I just picked myself up and I just started moving forward, one thing at a time. And I got the house, got the job, got the car, did all the things. And then I realized that I really needed to figure out my money. And I made really good money, but it was gone all the time. Just at the end of the month, I just didn't have enough. And I was always wondering, I don't understand why, you know? So I dove into it. I just dove into it. And I did anything and everything that I possibly could to learn about money. And first I started on Google University, where, you know, you just go on and you search whatever. But the thing about Google is that besides the fact that there's so much information and so much conflicting information and so much confusing information, that's just a given. But when you don't know what you don't know, you don't even really know the right questions to ask. So when you go to a person or Google or wherever, if you're not asking the right questions, you're not going to get the right answers. So I was still confused. So I X'd out of Google, done with Google. And then I just started listening to podcasts and reading books, and I hired coaches, and I just asked a million questions, and I just did whatever I could. I ended up reading over 300 books. And I always say I read the books, so you don't have to. And it was amazing and fascinating, everything that I learned. And there were some really great books, and there were really some terrible books, and everything in between. Same thing with podcasts. Like, there were a lot of podcasts that are out there that were just over my head, and I didn't understand what they were talking about. And, you know, and then I also had a financial advisor who was a friend of mine who was watching my money for me. I had left that job, and I had rolled over the 401k from that job, and I gave it to her. And I said, here, take this for me. I don't know what to do with it. And she was handling that money for me, plus some other money that I had given to her previously, because my grandmother had passed away and left me some money, and I didn't want to spend it. And so she was supposedly taking care of this money for me. And she's had it for years. And it wasn't really growing. And I didn't understand why, because we would have our annual meeting, and she would say to me, oh, the market was so amazing this year, and it went up, 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 up. And I'm like, well, why isn't my money growing? And she never really answered the question to where I could understand what she was saying. Like, still to this day, like, I don't even know if she was lying to me or telling me the truth, because I had no idea what she was saying, you know? And it was at that moment where I said, all right, I need to figure this out. I need to learn this. I need to understand this. I can't just give my money to someone and hope that it will be okay.
Yep.
And so then I dove into that too. Beautiful. And I learned everything. I fired her, and now I take care of my own investments. I just said, peace out, and I'm taking care of this myself. Because you know what? At the end of the day, the best financial advisor is the one staring you back in the mirror.
Absolutely.
And no one's going to care about your money more than you.
Yep.
You know, you just give it to this person who just plays around with it like Monopoly money, and they don't care, you know. Yeah. They only care if you take your money away.
Yeah.
They really don't care, you know.
Yeah.
It's not like you do, you know, this is personal for you. So I had dove into the money piece, and when I first started, I created a spreadsheet. It was a beautiful spreadsheet. And I was putting all my money on there, and I was just said, okay, I'm going to track my money. And I didn't at this time still know what to do with it. I was just watching it go away. So every month at the end of the month,
I feel like a lot of people can relate to that.
Right? My beautiful spreadsheet would turn from black to red because there'd be a negative, you know, and I'm like, what is going on? I'm tracking my money, and why don't I have any? You know, but I still didn't understand, you know, so I was still learning. And it was just funny. So finally, I figured it out. And I created such a simple system for myself that I started to teach my son. And because I realized during my research, because this is stuff you don't think about unless someone really points it out to you, or you just happen to overhear someone talking about it, or you're maybe here today. It's that we don't learn about money in school, and we don't even think about it. We just ignore it, right? And we get our check, we get paid, and then we're like, now what, right? I got to pay my bills. And that's the first thought, is you get your check, and then you pay your bills. You have this little bit left over, and you hope you have enough left for groceries and gas for your car and maybe a fun night out. And then after that, there's more month left at the end of the money. And that's when you start using your credit cards. And people finish out the month on the credit cards, and then you slowly and slowly and slowly are creeping into debt. And then all of a sudden, you're thousands of dollars in debt and you have absolutely no idea how you got there. And then people feel stuck, and then they ignore it even more, because when you're stuck, you tend to just turn a blind eye, right? Yeah. That's what most people do. I did the same thing.
Yeah.
I get it. But the reason why I started teaching my son was because of this whole piece called the money story. So what your money story is essentially how you feel and how you treat your money. It's how you feel about it and how you treat it. So your money story begins basically the day you're born. So you're born, and between the ages of 0 and 7 is when we're programmed and when we're conditioned and how we learn. And we learn everything from our parents and our environment. And we're just taking it all in. All of it just comes in and it lives in our subconscious. And then that's how we operate for the rest of our lives, unless we have an aha moment and we're like, oh, I got to change something, you know? And that's the day when you're like, oh, I've been doing this my whole life. Maybe I need to figure out a different way of doing things. And that's what happened with me with money and many other things in my life. But so your money story, between the ages of 0 and 7, you're learning money from your parents. They learned money from their parents.
Yeah.
Their parents learned about money from their parents. Their parents learned about money from their parents, and backwards and backwards and backwards, and so on and so on and so on. So now all of these money stories are now fast forwarded to now. And it's from all these different generations that went through different times, different hardships, different celebrations, all these different things that happened to other people in different times that are now here in your head, in your subconscious, just in you. And you don't even know it's there. So this is why you hear people say money doesn't grow on trees. People who are rich are greedy and mean, and, you know, all these things that you hear. And it is now, it's just so interesting, because it is now our responsibility as parents to recognize this. And so now I've made it my mission to stop these generational patterns of all these money stories being fast forwarded, and stop it now. And I want to take the money story and rewrite the money story and stop it. Right. So it is our responsibility as parents to teach our kids about money so we can stop the generational patterns, rewrite the money story for them. They'll be set for life. We have a little work to do because we're, you know, not starting at the beginning, but at least our kids will have a chance, right?
Exactly.
For us, it's not too late, right? It's only too late when you're dead. It really is. You know,
I love that. I love your quirky posts. Like, they make me laugh so much, because a lot of people talk about money mindset, but you're like, you know, you just put it out there in a very raw and real way, and it's funny, and I love it. I love your sense of humor.
Thank you. I mean, you got to be real about this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I cut out the fluff. I cut out the fake. It's real, right? Finance can be a pretty scary thing for some people, right? Absolutely. Which is why people ignore it, because we don't learn about it in school. No one teaches us how to do it. We're basically thrown to the wolves. Figure it out for yourself, right? Absolutely. So you just do the best you can with the knowledge that you have. There's no shame in that. People come to me with so much embarrassment and anxiety and shame and fear and all of these feelings surrounding money, because it's something they don't know. Whatever. If you learn anything, it's something you don't know. It's just something new you need to learn, you know? That's really all it is. It's all it comes down to is, you know, learning something new. And it's really more fun when you do it with your kids, because I teach the moms that I work with the same way I teach my son.
Yeah. And let's talk about some of those steps. Like, what do you take your clients through to help them face their money and then move through those stories and then take responsibility and control?
Yeah. So first we have to tackle the money story and really figure out, what is your money story? What is your money story? What did you learn when you were little? How do you feel about it now? What did you take from that? And really get to the root cause of all of that, because if you don't, you can't fix it. You really, I mean, it's kind of like that. I don't know, you can compare it to like self-love, where you work with like someone and they tell yourself you love yourself in the mirror 1,000 times and eventually you'll believe it. No, that's bullshit. It's bullshit. I'm sorry, but if you don't get to the root cause of what your issue is, you can't fix it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So For me personally, my money story, my mom is a spender. She still is. My dad had a gambling addiction, was also a spender. And they both had amazing jobs. They made great money. There was never any money because they were always spending it in a different way, but they were always spending it. My mom was always just buying things, racking up the credit card bills. My dad was always gambling. He gambled so much that there were casinos that would invite him and send helicopters for him. I'm not kidding. Comp him rooms and all these things. And he was like, I'm living large. I'm like, you're losing all your money and they love it. That's why they're sending you a helicopter.
That is so funny. Oh my gosh.
I know. It was insane. So the money was coming in, but immediately going out. And so for my sister and I as children, we always heard, no, you can't have that. But meanwhile, they were enjoying purchasing whatever, gambling and whatever my mom was buying on her credit, and that's how I learned you use your credit cards to pay for things. And I hated gambling. I hated it. I despised it. My father used to take me with him when I was like 5 years old, going with him to the horse race back. And I was always scared. I hated it. I was like, please get me out of here.
Stop sucking me into your money story.
Awful, right. And I didn't know what was going on. And then the fighting in the house, the fighting was ridiculous. It was so bad. My sister ran away from home and I didn't talk to her for over 20 years. And it was bad.
Wow.
It was really bad. So I just learned that money is bad. Money causes fights. There's never any money, and those are the messages that I took from my childhood. And I just kind of moved forward with that. And I would get money and spend it, 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 and that's how we operate. Right. Yep. And even through our environment, because I was talking with my son one day and we're always talking about money. So he had said to me, Mommy, people who have money he said, people who are rich are greedy and mean. He said, so I don't want to be rich because I'm a really kind person and I don't want to turn out like that. And I looked at him and I said, where did you hear that? I've never said that. He told me he heard it on a cartoon.
Wow.
So the person that wrote the words to the cartoon put their money story through the cartoon character that is now being implanted into our children, and so it's everywhere and we don't even know it. Yeah. So now you can't unhear this, right? Now you know it, right? So I always watch the cartoons with my son now. Like, what are you watching? What are they doing? Is it stupid? Is it good? Like, what are they, what are you learning? Like what stupid antics are they? Cause now he's older, he's 10. So he's watching these things with these crazy, and I'm like, don't learn anything from these videos. Don't do that.
Don't try this at home and don't repeat this. It's so funny, It gets away from us. Like there's so much out there that reining it in is one of the hardest jobs I find. It's like, it's very hard. You either have to be the all or nothing mom who everyone hates, or like, the nothing mom who everybody hates, or like you let them have the things, or you're like this goalie referee person, which I feel I'm always stuck in that role because my husband is more like, he allows them to have the technology. And so I'm like, I am always the bad guy. I'm the referee. I am the person that is trying to figure out whether he's getting fed some, like you said, information that I don't agree with, or like imagery or violence. I'm just like, oh my God, it's constant work, right?
I'm dealing with
unacknowledged work. Yeah.
Because when my son goes to my ex's house, I have no idea what's going on until he comes back and tells me, if he tells me, but it's mostly electronics, because my ex, he has to have the latest and greatest everything, which was part of our demise of our bankruptcy and all of that, right? And I'm not saying that I'm innocent either, because I was a spender too, but he always had to have the latest and greatest electronics, TV, phones, all the things like that, Apple Watch, like whatever it is. So he gave my son a phone without even asking me first. He gave him like, Nintendos and all these things. He has all of these things, and I'm like, you cannot bring them here. You can bring your phone, but that's it, and I limit the screen time, and I'm like
it's so hard,
the mom that says no to that, but I say yes to a lot of other things. So his experience here is so different than it is.
It must
hard
be
for him, but at the end of the day, I've normalized money in the house. And so
I love it.
For the kids.
Let's talk about some of the stuff. Like, how do you feel about allowance? How do you encourage entrepreneurship in a child and like healthy money habits? Like, how do you do that? So what are some of the things you would say to him or ask him to take control of in terms of his spending or his money? Yeah, like, let's talk about that.
I love talking about this. Okay. So many things. The first thing is just normalizing money in the house. Is, money's so taboo. It's one of those taboo subjects. It's like sex, politics, religion, all these things that cause controversy. And like sex and money are two of the most amazing subjects to talk about. Like they're both fun. They both bring ecstasy and joy, and no one ever talks about it.
Yes.
It's stupid, right? So I want to normalize the talk of money because that's really step one, because no one's talking about it. So let's start talking about it. Yeah. Make it normal. Like like the weather. It's sunny outside. Here's your allowance. Let's talk about it. These types of things. So I started giving my son an allowance a few years ago, and I have taught him what to do with his. So when he gets paid, he automatically allocates it to the 4 buckets. And what the 4 buckets are simply saving, investing, giving, and spending. And that's it. So you allocate the money to those 4 buckets, and he puts a certain percentage in each one. And then he takes that money and he does what he needs to do with it. And I give him cash and I give him digital money, air. I call it air. Right? Because now in the world, I don't know if you know this, but only 10% of the world actually uses cash, actual cash, paper and coins. And the rest of it is digitized. Yes. Especially after COVID, when people stopped taking cash because of the germs and everything.
That's right.
So now more than ever, people are ignoring their money even more because it's become so intangible.
That's right.
So this is what I teach him that's why I give him both, because I want him to learn both.
So interesting. Yeah.
Right. I want him to be able to feel it, touch it, see it, understand it, and then also understand that it's the exact same thing as this numbers that you see on the app. Yeah. And because learning the value of $1 when something is invisible, it's almost nearly impossible to really teach that.
You're so
right. Yeah. So if you're doing both, it makes it more real. That's in my eyes anyway. And it is for him. So I've empowered him now with a financial education and with his own money. So whenever we go shopping, he knows he never has to ask me for anything. So I am not the mom that says, no, you can't have that. I never have to say it, because when we go to the store, he'll bring his wallet. And if he wants something, he will buy it. Most of the time he doesn't. Because we talk a lot about needs and wants, and like, is this something you really need? Or is this just some like random thing that you're going to play with for an hour and never touch again? And we go through conversations like that. And he loves Legos, and we have lots of conversations about supply and demand and things like that. Because Legos is really the only company that makes Legos. There's really they are the company. Yeah. And so when we go buy Legos, he's like, Mommy, why are these so expensive? Well, because supply and demand, if people will pay it, they will charge it. Absolutely. And if they want to raise the price and people will still pay it, then they will continue to raise the price. You get this little carrot. I mean, I had like a lip balm, but there's like characters you can buy that, there's like 4 pieces about the size of a lip balm, and it's $5. Yep. And he's like, that's a ripoff.
Yep, I've been to the stores. My son is also addicted to Lego. I hear you. Yeah, I get it.
But it's the coolest thing because he gets to learn the lesson himself, and then I get to stand back and let him learn the lesson, and then we discuss it.
I love that.
And that's just Legos. I mean, that's with everything that we do. So first we start with allocating his money. We have money dates. So his payday is every Thursday. So every Thursday we sit down and we look at his money. And we make sure it's allocated where it's supposed to be. We make sure he knows exactly how much money he has in all buckets. He watches his investments. He watches his savings goals. He's now saving to buy a car.
Wow.
He started years ago. And so he's not allowed to have a car until he's 18. So he'll be saving for at least another 10 years.
Lots of time left.
He does, right? So by the time he turns 18, he'll have enough money to buy his own car. And I don't have to worry about, oh no, do I need to help him buy a car? All these things that we're preparing for now. So part of our responsibility as parents is not only making sure that we are set for life, because I don't want to end up living in his basement when I get older. I want to be able to take care of myself, right?
That's right.
I don't want to put the burden on him, you know, and
that's beautiful.
you know, and I don't want to have him worry about if he does go to college, which he wants to, but who knows when he turns 18, what he wants, right? So I do teach him about jobs versus entrepreneurship.
Yeah. Tell me about that. Tell me about that. Like, how do you feel like we should, and this is something that I really want to get better at. My eldest is only 5, and I haven't really
perfect age.
I didn't dive into this enough, and I want to, you know, how to encourage entrepreneurship and how to show them that they can make their own career, make their own money, create their own passionate venture. They don't have to rely on someone to pay them. Like, they can literally create clients and all of this. And so this is something that I've only been exploring on my own for a few years, right? And so I'm not that amazing at it, but I'm drawing on inspiration and amazing leaders like yourself and other women who are showing and paving the way for this. And I'm so, so grateful for this, for women supporting other women, and for helping our future generations see another reality and another purpose, and, you know, to learn these new skills and these things that, we weren't taught. And so as a homeschooling mom as well, I'm like, you know, I want to teach my kid that, and I want to teach all my kids that. And so, how do you feel like, what are the little things that actually encourage entrepreneurship and creating your own kind of reality and money?
Specifically from my son is that he sees me do it. You know,
that's huge.
And he sees, and he helps me, and I let him, and I show him everything. Same thing with my money. So I show him, like, when I got that new job and I started getting my new paychecks, which are also air, right? I would show him, look, this is a paycheck. This is the gross. This is the net. These are taxes. These are deductions. This is the 401k. So then it opened up the whole conversation about the 401k and how that worked. And then I showed him all about entrepreneurship. And I'm like, look, you know, most people have a job. They don't make enough money. You know, there's a lot of people that do, but there's also a lot of people that don't. So then there's something called a side hustle, right? And you can have a job and have as many side hustles as you want. Or you can decide to just not have a job at all and open your own business, or have more than one business, you know, and I just explain that there's all of these opportunities. And then I tell him, look, I have set you up for life with all the information and all the education that I've given you with money. So you won't have to be stuck in a cubicle somewhere saying, I have this soul-sucking job. I hate my job. There has to be a better way. You know, like so many people say. And I said, that won't be you. You will have the opportunity and the choices when you get older to decide if you want to have a job, great. If you don't, great. If you want to travel the world, great. If you want to have a business, great. If you want to have 27 businesses and volunteer, all, you know, great, because he loves to volunteer, you know. So all these which is another thing I encourage, is volunteerism and giving, and of your time as well as money. And it's just becoming just a well-rounded person with really good values and being grateful. And that's really where it begins, is just being well-rounded, understanding that the whole world is open to you, and that we shouldn't have to say no to everything. And if you like something, go try it. Go try it. Like the other day, my son and I were at the park, and he was with a friend of his, and his friend was telling him, because we talk about it with his friend all the time. My son was teaching him about the difference between a bear market and a bull market. We were sitting there having a picnic lunch, and they were talking about that. And then I was talking to his mom, and we were she's like, your son is amazing. I'm like, I know. And then we were talking to his friend, because his friend was saying that he just got his first client, and he decided to go out, because of conversations that we've had, was that he decided to go out and ask a neighbor if he could rake his leaves for money, right? And so they're 10 years old. So they're going to do things that a 10-year-old would do. Go wash someone's car, rake the leaves, paint mailbox posts, you know, do these things. And these are things that you could make into a business, you know. And now that the weather's getting cooler, you know, you could take that whole concept of the lemonade stand and
Yeah.
you can turn it into hot cocoa.
Whatever
Or
you want.
you could do,
Yeah.
like hot apple cider and just put it in a crock pot and plug it in. And, and there's so many different things that you can do. And even things that kids can think of that we can't even think of because their brains just go, go,
Yes.
go.
They're even more
And
creative.
they
Yeah.
are. Like my son, like I'll just ask him one thing. My son is a creator and
Mm,
he's just a creator, an inventor. And every single day,
love
I'm not
that.
joking or embellishing, every day he creates a board game. Every
Wow.
day out of his mind. He'll just create it and then we'll play it. And it's amazing. And he sometimes makes up the rules as we go along. And I'm like, hey, that's not fair, but
All of a
things like
sudden you're
that.
always losing.
But, right? Like, how come I can't get anywhere here? But like the other day he made me eat ice cubes as a challenge and all that stuff. It was hilarious.
I love
But like the
that.
things
I
he
need to
comes
hang
up
out with
with,
you guys.
it's fun. We always have fun. But in regards to money, there's so many things that you can do there as well. Like the other day, a friend of mine's kids went to like a sunflower
Arm.
yeah, and they were able to pick flowers and all this, and they bought all these flowers, and then she like showed it to me, and I said, well, these should go door to door and sell them. Like they're going to be dead in a week. They're not going to keep all these flowers. They brought home like a truckload of flowers, and I was like,
Absolutely.
tell them to go make some money,
See, I love that. Yeah, just
Yeah.
just giving that idea as the option of like, hey, what about this? Like,
Yeah.
They may not catch on right away, but after a few times, they might be like, oh yeah, this is actually something that I would love to sell because I love this thing and I think other people would love it. And I want people to have this in their house. It's like you need to have that like inspiration, that joy for that particular thing. And yeah, I think that's such a great idea. And I want to be more encouraging of that. And I don't think my family what was. And it's funny because this is the funny thing about money stories too, is that my mom, highly entrepreneurial, hated working for other people. She did when she had to, but the second that she was able to, started her own business, started her own practice. She was she just recently retired, but she's an esthetician, so facials and and nails and stuff like that. And she was like the queen of facials. She gave the best facials anywhere, right?
I'm a facial junkie.
Oh my gosh, she's so good. And her hands are magic. And she was kind of known in the community for it. And all the people came to her for that. And I didn't even realize until like a year ago, I'm like, why are my parents pushing me so deeply towards a job, a government job, like any job, right? I'm like, it's so funny that they're doing that because my mom herself hates that. Like she would not do it. And yet she thought like, okay, with all your education, like you could get whatever job you want, right? But it's like, but not like, oh, let me teach you entrepreneurial skills so you can make your own reality, your own job, your own venture. Like, so it's very hard for her to even support my entrepreneurial ventures to get over that hump in her head for some reason, even though she did it. So I find that very funny, because we inherit a lot of money stories from our parents and a lot of those things I carry, like, relying on a man for money, or money doesn't grow on trees. You have to work freaking hard for money. It doesn't just come out of nowhere. So it's been really transformative and healing for me to work through some of those stories because it's like, just because people say that doesn't make it true. And like, you can have an easeful relationship with money, an honest, easeful relationship with money. It doesn't have to be hard all the time. And it's like this idea that money is hard is kind of like this mindset is destined to make us not have it. It's like the more you believe that, the more, like you said, like, so you spoke to two things that, just recently I heard about, like the statistic of I think like, so 80% or more of six-figure earners are actually living paycheck to paycheck. And that goes to what you said, like, no matter how much you earn, you just end up spending it all. So that was crazy. So when I learned that, I was like, whoa, right? Why is that? And so the whole money story thing is not just woo-woo. Like, this is legitimately what we are battling. Like, it's all coming down the generational line. And like you said, if we don't stop it in its tracks, it will continue. So be the one to shift the story. So
you write it.
So powerful. And then the other statistic was something else I want to speak to that you commented on. I can't think of it now. But yeah, no, I really appreciate that you actually bring women to the awareness of their money story so they can, because the number one step is facing it, right? Is actually seeing it, acknowledging it, and facing it. And then it becomes a little bit easier to move through it because you're not like, it kind of erases some of that shame, right? Because we don't want women to just be like feeling so guilty about where they're at. It's like, to a certain extent, it's really not your fault. And like you said, you had to work so hard to figure out how to stop spending all your money right away. Like, it's wild how you had to read like thousands of books and learn so much just to keep the money in the bank. Like, that just means that the subconscious is so much more powerful than many people let on.
Yeah. I always compare the money mindset to a weight loss mindset.
Wow. Yeah.
Because they're the same.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And I found this out because I was an overweight kid. I was an overweight adult. I was 245 pounds. And I had dieted my way up to 245 pounds.
Wow.
And I lost 130 pounds 20 years ago, over 20 years ago now. And I realized when I was learning about money and money mindset and all those things is that the mindset with money is the exact same for weight loss because of the word budget and the word diet. What do those two words mean to you? Deprivation. That's what everyone thinks, right? When you go on a diet, you have to deprive yourself. When you budget your money, you feel like you need to deprive yourself. So I don't use the word budget. I don't use that word.
That's money blowing. Did you hear what I said?
You should get my money gun.
That's really good. I'm going to use that again. It's money blowing.
No, but when you really think about it, like I use more empowering phrases and words.
I love that.
To talk about money because of these words that are trigger words, right?
Absolutely.
Because when I ask my son, what does budgeting mean to you? He immediately says what I was about to say. And other people are like, oh, I can't. Like budgeting to people means I can't. But you know what? The empowering thing about budgeting is that you get to tell your money what to do. That's what budgeting is. So first we need to figure out how much does it cost to be you, right? So we blow through your money mindset. We figure out how much does it cost to be you. And then I teach something that's called values-based spending, which is simply, what do you care about? What are the things that you care about? And let's spend your money on those things, right? Just
love that.
Instead of just wastefully spending it, right? We're going to just then tell your money what to do so that you spend the money on the things that you care about. Yes. Right. And that's really everything at its core. And then through all of that, we set up savings and investing and, spending. And I even teach you how to spend properly, all the things, because you have to pay yourself first and no one's doing that.
I love that. That is so important. Tell us where people can find you in case they want to work with you deeper and in case they want to look at their money. Oh, and you're based in the United States, right?
I am. Yes.
Okay. So do you work with people in Canada and are the financial systems similar enough that you can still help people in Canada? How does that work?
I do actually work with people in Canada. Yes. Awesome. And they are similar. There are vast differences as well, but they are very similar. Like just tax structures and different things like that. But yeah,
the strategy would be similar.
The strategy is exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's just, knowing the rules of the country, really. And so I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm originally from New York, if anyone listening can't tell from my accent. But
love your accent.
Thank you. I moved down here years ago. For cost of living reasons, actually.
Yeah.
And living in New York is insane. So anyway, so the easiest way to find me is on my website. It's momswhomoney.com. And I also have a podcast called Moms Who Money. And I make short episodes for busy moms. And I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook. And you can find me through my website on all my socials.
Perfect. So after this conversation's over, maybe you can send me all those. I'm going to send you a quick message and you can send me all your links. I will post them below for you ladies. And yeah, this was just an amazing conversation. And frankly, I think we could talk about it all day, but let's keep it digestible and short. And if people want to learn more, work with you more, they can always go on a discovery call with you and chat with you in detail about their specific situation. This is so awesome. Thank you so much, Eileen. And I can't wait to just continue to get to know you better.
Same. Thank you. This was really fun.
For me too. All right, let me end this.